How Bizarre is intended for mature, open-minded audiences only. If you are easily offended, we suggest you turn this wacky shit straight off.
Here goes my tiny dick neighbor in his big fat tiny dick car. All day long. One of these days, I'm telling you, I know this will make me look like a crazy, pathetic old man that never leaves the house, but one of these fucking days, I am going to set up my camera and just record on OBS or something all day and fast forward and actually count how many times they come and go. Talked about this before. I think they're drug dealers, but I think they're delivery drug dealers, which is much smarter. I can't. They can't all be
house calls. They don't
door dashers.
Yeah.
Listen, I have seen them drive away in one car, come back, immediately get into another car, pull out, and they got 9 cars, and they're all big, obnoxious trucks, except for this one. I think that's a Mustang, or I think it's a Mustang, and they'll be home for like 10 minutes after spending 10 minutes parking this car, shifting this one over, moving them out like the little slide puzzle game. And then they take off again, and you'll see them pulled back up within 20 minutes. And it's all day long. And I know the thinking your neighbors are drug dealers is cliche, but I can't imagine that.
I know it in my heart.
I can't think of any other thing. I'm sure that there are plenty of other things that I'm not thinking of, including like if they all had like little Mazdas or something, I wouldn't be surprised if they were doing something like DoorDash or Ubering, but they drive these giant obnoxious like diesels and Hummers, and nothing makes sense for an Uber standpoint.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, not very economic, man.
Not economic at all.
Oh, that's how my night's gonna go.
It's funny how it can be right and wrong all at the same time. Colorful language we've invented here. Colorful, I guess, is one other way to say it. All right, let's get the other colorful guys on.
We do this thing at work where we give away like sets of items. Like, come in each day at the one time a week and pick up your pots and pans set or your bath towel set. And this week it was like, it was like a bedding set. So you get like the sheets one week and the pillowcases one week. But the word is continuity. And for some reason, continuity was a word I really struggled with.
Give us a little. Well, you said it perfectly there.
Oh, trust me.
How did it come out?
It'd be like continuity. I couldn't get past the uity. I don't know why.
You had no continuity to your continuity.
It wasn't there.
Continuity. Continuity. Remember when I did that with rhinoceros?
That actually makes me feel better. Thanks for reminding me.
It took me so long, and it was days after that podcast that it finally hit me. It was like, oh no, rhinoceros does sound right. I kept wanting to make it rhinoceros or rhinoceros.
Yeah, that is exactly what it was, rhinoceros.
It's like, what? Like, it's not rhinoceros. It's not rhinoceros.
Oh, great.
And it's like,
so good.
Well, of course it is, but sometimes your brain just breaks. I'm going through a weird thing right now with that. I've been watching season 4 of Better Call Saul, which I thought at first that Sarah and I watched a couple years ago, but I was like 2 or 3 episodes into it, and I was like, oh no, I never watched any of these. And then it got to an episode where I remembered every moment. I was like, is my memory that fucking spotty? But then I was thinking that was mid-COVID when that season was hitting, and I know that I was hitting the sauce stronger than you.
Yeah.
And even a mild sauce hitting day for me back then could easily be a third of a fifth. When I was really hitting it, I could easily kill a couple beers and several ounces of whiskey and not be drunk. But, you're still, even if you can tolerate that much booze, it's still having the same effect on your body as it would anyone else. So I wonder if maybe some of those episodes I was maybe approaching almost blackout drunk. I don't know. It's so strange because it's like, how could I have forgotten? There are some pretty memorable fucking scenes. I don't know if you guys have seen Better Call Saul, but I know you've seen Breaking Bad.
I haven't seen Better Call Saul yet.
Similar scenes. It's not quite as brutal, but pretty brutal. And I'm like, how the fuck did I forget all this? But I remember these other things. Who knows? our
When
brains.
back in the day when we had the Blockbusters,
Mhm.
I would always get my paycheck, and then I'd be like, let's go to Blockbuster. And I would spend, you get like 3 for $20, right? And
Blockbuster.
Fuck yeah.
stop there, and then kind gentlemen, go to the
I'm going to
liquor
go
store.
home and bust some block.
Yeah, go home. Yeah,
Blockbuster and chill. You know what I'm saying?
Blockbuster and get drunk. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Blackout Buster.
I miss that.
Oh, dude. I literally packed all my VHS and DVDs, and there's like 300 probably a piece.
Wow.
And yeah, it's a lot. It's like, it was 4 full boxes.
I think that's more than I have VHS. I definitely have thousands of DVDs and discs, but I still have quite a few VHS.
Yeah. I was looking through them, and I couldn't remember which ones I've actually watched. They didn't seem like, like I've watched them, and then, because I was so drunk that I...
That's the plus side. It's like
I
you
get
get
to
to
watch
experience all over again. I don't think I've ever seen that extraterrestrial movie.
X-Files
It's like, what are they
movie?
doing with all those radios? That doesn't make sense.
The truth is out there.
John Mark, you there? I don't believe John Mark is on the horn yet. Well,
I think he is. I could have sworn I heard him.
so I suppose we should probably keep people in the loop because we'll see how this goes. But in the interest of consistency, we have decided to get back to trying to stick to recording the same night of the week. We all have our own various schedules, of course, including Christopher sometimes has the kids, sometimes he doesn't on this very day. So bear with us if there's any snafus with that. But I don't know. I think Chris has a weird triv ready to roll. But in the future, if that gets to be like too much for you to do with the kid runner, because it's one thing to just belly up and shoot the shit or share a news story here and there. But, once it's your turn to like steer the show, that could get a little snafu-y. But we'll try it out. And you're on a different mic. And sounds good, though. But the only other real change is that we're going to, more than usual, keep an eye on that clock so we can get out of here at probably right around the 2-hour mark, if not a little shy of that. Still a good chunk of show, but...
Absolutely. I think that'd be good. If I can just get the kid to bed by 8, I think I'd be doing okay.
Mm-hmm.
So make this work. I may have a little distraction from time to time, but I think we're gonna make it work.
I'll just be entertaining and I do a news thing.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Shrinking up the show.
There is a little bit of, there's some noise that we got to figure out, Chris. Movement noise.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Gotcha.
I'll let you know when it's happening. Maybe we can dial it in. It's definitely not constant. So this is working pretty well, it seems like.
What kind of mic did you get?
I got this. I was just telling Ron. So my thing is I need to have something wireless so I can make right now I'm making the kid dinner, for instance.
Oh,
but,
sure.
so I got, initially I was hunting for Bluetooth headphones because I thought maybe that'd be the best way to go. But I found one that you plug a dongle into the laptop and it does like a gigahertz, like a phone signal instead of a Bluetooth,
wow.
which makes it less crackly allegedly and less latency. So hopefully good enough for what we do here for now. But
right now, someone down the street's on their old Gideon cordless phone. Thinking, what the fuck is this guy? Who is he talking to? There's no one else there.
9779.
Oh, spooky wookie. Well, speaking of spooky old recordings, Sarah Ray Shields just sent this story to me, and I'm going to add it to my news lineup because this is interesting. And now some of you may recall, I did a feature on early recordings way back. I had to look it up. I couldn't remember when it happened. It was on episode 14 of this very program. I highly recommend checking that out if you haven't heard it, or if you haven't heard it in a while. I think it's re-listenable. It's a fascinating and eerie fucking tale. But by the way, this is episode 91. We're almost 100 eps old here at How Bizarre. Which means 450. When we hit that number, it'll mean 450 total recorded podcasts since we started in 2010, son. 450. Anyway, so you remember those Edison rolls, the original vinyl, if you will, they're on wax and shellac, but the the roll records, instead of, once we figured out that discs, you could pack more of a punch, get more on it, and they were easier to take care of. You had these Edison rolls played on an Ediphone.
Yeah, they were made out of wax.
Yeah. Well, and they're pretty collectible. Well, a lot of the earlier ones are made out of wax. Some of them were made out of a harder shellac. Those are the ones that you see more in secondhand stores, antique malls, because they survived. You know, and a lot of them, they came with preloaded commercial music of popular songs, or as blanks that you could record your own shenanigans on, you know, birthday greetings and family stories, or a little folk song or whatever. But I was thinking, you know, someone out there back in the past made recordings of their boning sounds, right? Like, we all know that the first thing that men do with any new technology is figure out how to make it get you off. So there's got to be an Ediphone roll out there with the sounds of love, sweet love. Anyway, so the New York Public Library of Performing Arts, a box of these were sitting around. It's like on some dusty old shelf, and a worker discovered them, and there was a whole bunch of them. Like, I think maybe over 1,000 of them. It was a bunch. Definitely more than one. All unlabeled, and some were, you know, just like half melted and half destroyed. And most of them were in a pretty fragile but intact state. And, you know, just handling them was tricky. So you couldn't put them on a player without immediately destroying them. That was out of the question. But a brand new machine that can play these old rolls using a harmless laser is now being employed, and they've started unearthing all these old sounds that are being heard for the very first time. And this, as I'm going to play, I got a clip. This is I really enjoyed this. This is now this was one that they pulled out, and again, these are very fragile. It's almost like an archaeological dig. You know, you got to discover these ancient jars from Egypt. It's not like you just pick them up and pack them and put them on a shelf. You know, there's some preservation techniques, and then you got to get them into the player, or where it can be played by the thing. So she just grabbed one, hoped that it would be something interesting, and this is what they found. Now, this is coming from NPR, or maybe PBS. I should have written that down. So you'll hear a little bit of the host here, and then the actual clip.
The room is silent, waiting. Good. Then the recording starts. Bird laughs in surprise. Wood slides to the floor, her head in her hands.
Are you so disappointed?
I thought I was picking something that was unique, and I picked, like, the most everyday thing possible.
It's not a birthday party. It's a commercial recording of the song Hello, My Baby, written in 1899 by Joseph E. Howard and Ida Emerson.
I rather enjoyed that. Because, you know, they set it up so beautifully, and it was like, oh, what's this going to be? Hello, my baby.
I almost wondered if that was you doing a recording. Like, I thought you were going to slip something in, like.
Remember when we used to do that? What was there? Mm-hmm. We'd like do these stupid subliminal messages, these inside jokes. I can't remember what.
Do you remember when I went to LA and got the EVP recording?
That was one of them, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You were like doing some baby talk or something. You caught me doing to Leah. I don't remember what exactly it was, but it was a joke that you wouldn't let go of for a long time.
What's new?
It was funny. Yeah, it was funny. Anyway, so not all is lost, because there's still 1,000 of them, and I still thought it was actually kind of neat to hear. You know, it's just like, yeah, it was a commercially available cylinder, but. And I don't know, made me laugh out loud that of all the songs, it was like the most old timey. I mean, I guess it would be like discovering something from the 90s and saying, what is this unearthed tape that's never been played? And it's like, it's like, oh, it's Nirvana.
You know, it'd be cool is like to find one of those or something that was like done during like the Declaration of Independence. something that old, that they just obscured, and simply packed
Nice
around.
signature, John.
No, that's my Hancock.
Yeah. But I don't know. The whole thing, I love this stuff. I'm obsessed with old recordings. I'm obsessed that we're still finding these, discovering not only like new works from like famous bluesmen like Robert Johnson and Charlie Patton in yard sales in Oregon that someone bought for $1.50, and it changes the world, the landscape of blues music forever. I love that these things are still kind of out there. Fewer and fewer of them, of course. But anyway, this whole thing that, got me thinking when I was thinking of recording your own boning sounds. I was like, I wonder, maybe we even looked it up before. I had to have looked it up at some point, probably for the show, but it got me curious. What is considered the world's oldest, full-on pornography? The thing we've talked about, the oldest like dick pic and the oldest titty pic and all that. But I mean, if you really want to just call it porn, I think it has to be video, and it has to be just full-on, fornicating. So here's what I found.
I thought you were going to use the word scrogging for a second.
I almost did, but
Full on
well, it does sound old timey. Well, how about a little scrogging? The proof is in the frijoles. But so after I think when I searched the world's oldest porn, I had to scroll past a few gigilf websites. But once I did, I got to a website called oldest.com. And this is what they have to say. It is Le Coucher de la Marie, which I'm sure I'm butchering proper. Translation is bedtime for the bride or the bridegroom's dilemma. And it's widely considered the oldest existing porn in the world. It was one of the first erotic films ever made in the late 19th century. The film was directed by Albert Kirchner, produced by Eugene Perrault, and starred French actress Louis Willy. Very appropriately, and by today's standards, this pornographic film is quite tame. It features a newlywed couple on the night of their wedding. The husband looks on as his new bride performs a striptease behind a folding screen, the classic folding screen of yore. Oh boy, a young Ronnie watching some classic films on TCM. That was kind of pornographic for...
I think that was his real name or his stage name, old wiener. What was it?
It was Louis. That was the actress, Louis Willy.
Willie.
Louis Willy.
Well, it could be like everybody talks about their Willie.
Mm-hmm. Everyone talks about Willie. And it says, although the film was considered risque at the time, actress was never fully nude. So it really wasn't full-on hardcore, but it is still considered the oldest, quote-unquote, softcore, we can call it. Definitely porn. 7 minutes long, and only the 2-minute undressing scene has survived. So who knows? Maybe they did get knocking boots after the tantalizing undress.
I told you guys that I got a Fire Stick, and then I found a provider. It's like $20 a month, but it has like 500 channels. Mm-hmm. And in 500 channels, they have 7 adult channels, like porn. Mm-hmm. And they got
like on demand, or is it just playing shit?
It's just playing, and so it's got like your browsers or whatever, and the Hustler and your Penthouse and all that stuff. And there's a couple ones. There's 2 in particular that are like completely softcore porn. I mean, they don't even show anything, but it's just the way it's filmed. It's really kind of cool to watch, because it's got this artistic kind of, you think they're gonna do it, but they're not. It's like, dang,
tantalizing. The tease. Mm-hmm. Well, what's funny is that
tease.com or something like that.
When you can see anything these days, there is something. I think that's one of the reasons that burlesque had such a revival, and pinup had such a revival in the late 90s, early 2000s is when I started noticing it really getting picked back up. I think a lot of that might have had to do with the fact that, okay, well, now that we can see anything, maybe not quite seeing everything in the striptease and like the lingerie and all that stuff, that became a bit more fetishistic again. Maybe it never stopped being, but I certainly wasn't that interested. I mean, I remember occasionally I'd find, like, I'd go over to a friend's house and their moms had like the Fredericks of Hollywood catalog. I stole those. I straight up shamelessly. Well, I can't say shamelessly, and I feel shame now. I probably felt shame then, but that was porn of my era. If you couldn't get, the usual magazine or two, and occasionally a tape, but even that was like a little. That was very rare. And then you had to play it. Well, it's not like we all had VCRs in our bedroom, and it was like you had to wait for family to be gone. And God help you if you you finished, and yet you didn't take the tape out. And the next time the family got around to finishing that recorded episode of Little House on the Prairie, well, couple houses on the prairie. Anywho, I found that to be intriguing. There's something kind of charming that you have an adult channel. Doesn't even that sounds like retro? Like in the idea of stuff that's just playing. I find that appealing, oddly enough, in the age of on-demand everything.
Well, the thing is like back in the day, the only way you could ever get anything like that was like a Playboy channel or something. And you had to have a huge satellite out in the backyard,
like what I had. Mm-hmm.
So it's a trip. Recently it went down and half the channels don't work, unfortunately. But
my friend Jason knew a guy when he moved to Seattle, lived in his little apartment, a Shoreline to be exact. He had a friend that worked in the cable industry, and he got him these. They were called bullets, and then
I've heard of those.
And then I don't know if it was just like some sort of thing that plugged into your cable box, or if it was something that you ran your line through, but it was like an unscrambler for all the channels, like HBO and Cinemax and all those, but also the adult channels. And I remember staying up a little later than everyone else a couple times when I was visiting over there. And all that was pretty tame. You could tell that what it was, the channel that I was seeing, it was actually X-rated stuff that had been edited so that the hardcore stuff was out. There were no close-ups, no penetration. You could see full-on nudity, male and female. Everything else just had to be, like, everything was just like, you saw bobbing heads and maybe a bobbing butt or two. But no, like, he blamed me for, apparently, see, there's something else going on, because there was something he got that was like credit. You got credit for these pay-per-view things. And he blamed me for burning them all up. I told, to this day, he probably still blames me. I was like, I watched like one movie. I was one and done, passed out on your living room floor. So that was another friend, or maybe your own habit that you can't admit you have. But anywho, old times. It all sounds old timey. I got quite a few stories, but I think it'll be easier to keep things fair in the grand scheme of time if we just sort of alternate. So, John Mark, are you there?
Yo.
Did you have any stories you wanted to share?
Well, one just was brought to my attention on the ride home. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, and I was wondering what your take on it would be. So, did you guys hear about the rapper in DC that they had a memorial for him, essentially, I guess, like a wake, but it was in like a nightclub, and they took his embalmed body
I did hear about this.
and put it like up.
That was
on
actually
stage.
on my list.
And people were, dancing and, having a good time, and sort of like in his honor, I suppose. And it made a big kerfuffle in,
Yes.
Probably more the local news, but and I was talking to my friend in the car about it, and then we started, started kind of mulling it over, and we're like, well, why is that so weird necessarily? Just because it's in a different sort of environment than like,
a viewing of him in the coffin.
It's the same as like a wake with an open casket viewing, right? Where it's like you go
the same thing. Yeah.
It's essentially, kind of the same thing. And I think it's just like, because like the society that we live in this country has a very particular way that they deal with loss and grief and things revolving around death, that it would seem weird to a lot of people initially. But I think the more that you think about it, you're like, makes perfect sense, I guess, right? It's just kind of...
Well, it does until you look at the footage to me. I just sent it to you guys. I should have, I don't know. I honestly found this footage to be troubling.
I didn't watch any of the footage, but the brief stuff that I read.
I just sent it to you.
Makes sense, but
give it a watch.
A lot of people are looking at the stage going,
He's propped up a little awkwardly, but then the camera scrolls up and then you see his face and his eyes are open and it almost looks like he's looking in the camera.
Yeah.
Then they pan the camera out into the crowd and it's packed house. They're bumping. In fact, I'll just play the audio here. But it troubles me. When you see his face, he's like blinged out. He's got a little crown. And yeah, Lyle's right. When they get to the audiences, some people that just can't stop looking at him.
It's like, yikes.
They're like, I'm going to sing along. But yeah, everyone's looking. I don't know. So I had the exact same thought that you did, John Mark. Even after I saw the footage, and I was like, ew. But then I was like, with the exception of the eyes, having the eyes closed, glued shut, as we learned from Rob, the Undertaker, because they don't always stay shut, is a weird thing. But trust me, you want it. You want them eyes to be closed. You pop in a couple glass numbers and they just looking at you. No, that's different for me. But again, it's a gut thing. It's not an on paper thing. And you can get, we talked about this with Rob too. You can get permits to not only bury people in different locations, but certainly have them on display. And he was embalmed, probably went through all the legal procedure. I do see some people calling bullshit and they think this is a mannequin. Maybe, I guess no one has come forward and confirmed one way or the other, but it looks like a dead dude standing there, doesn't it? We see mannequins every day. They don't look like dead people.
No.
The article that I read had the interview with his mom, apparently, that was like, hey, this is like
confirmed.
Just like
corpse confirmed.
Like, nobody, people don't know us. They don't have any right to judge how we want to, do our thing or whatever. And it's like they don't know anything about us. And I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, no, she's right. She's right.
Yeah, the hands kind of give it away, and it's kind of like presentation. Just listening to the story, I'm just assuming, okay, yeah, he's in like a blinged out coffin. He might be propped up with the little mug full of fucking diamonds.
That would be way less shocking to me.
Yeah, me too. Or just even in a coffin, with it open, and then people partying.
Even just sitting in a throne. I don't know. There's something about him.
Maybe even that.
Leaning against the wall like he's stiffened up and they just like
kind of looking over everyone.
Like a broomstick that you're waiting to get back to.
Didn't we talk about doing this to you at one point though, Ron? I mean, maybe this resonates for you,
Stuffing me?
Yeah, like, having a farewell to the Ronster in some kind of public fashion like this. We've joked about this in the past.
Yeah, I'm sure we have. Sure. Goes back to the brain damage.
He knew he was kind of getting sick, and he said, I don't want anybody crying at my funeral. I want you guys to be all partying like it's the end of the world and have a great time instead of, bawling, and, just
for the record, I'd like a mixture of both at my funeral. I'm fine with y'all crying. I hope y'all cry when I go. But, it is celebration. I do always wonder what, of course, our funerals change from era to era, I suppose,
Sure.
Like I had a different funeral in mind 20 years ago than I do right now. And the question remains, who outlives you? Who's going to be here to throw that party? And I tasked you guys with it a long time ago when I was, not that long ago, in the middle of the radar station craziness. I was so fucking exhausted and so stressed. There were times when I was like, I feel like I'm actually going to drop dead. And people do drop dead from exhaustion. It's a real thing. I might have been hidden there, but I remember one night sitting at the bar in between some meeting or some event next door, and I texted you guys. I was like, I love my mom, but promise me if I drop dead from exhaustion, don't let her plan my funeral. You guys got to take it over. Because my mom's version of the funeral, they would do too. they'd have one separate for the family. And she'd probably want to check in on the friends one too, but the friends one would be quite.
Well, we've already talked about it. We've already started
different.
planning the blizzard bar towards the back. And
Open blizzard bar, sure. There should be burlesque. There should be titties. There should be science fiction elements, robots. Titties and robots. The Ron Evans story. I mean,
that's the theme.
What else is there? I mean, art, yeah, but come on. I mean, how often can you really talk about art?
They're not robots.
It was all part of my life, but titties and robots, yeah, that's my. We should all do that. I think we've talked a lot lately about the importance of planning in terms of financial and your estate, who gets what, simplify things for the people that are left behind, as Christopher has had to deal with. And so, this is one more element that we should probably think about, how you would like your final party planned. Make those wishes, and who's in charge.
We should really just throw this while you're still alive. Wouldn't you rather enjoy
That is the
party?
sad thing about funerals. It sounds fun, titties and robots.
Let's just get it out of the way now. You can enjoy it.
It feels
and then
like bad luck, though, doesn't it?
Well, then when you die, we don't have to worry about the shit. And then
I guess
you're
we
like,
could
I fucking know.
We can just do me a
lit.
titties and robots party.
Hey, we could rent like a warehouse with a big old catwalk up there where you sit there with your whiskey bottle and your cigar and just smoke.
Then when you die,
whatever. You're gonna prop me up against.
When you die, we just play play the replay. We just play the replay of it's like a rerun episode of your funeral.
Yeah, then you can charge tickets, and
you
now
have,
it's on the screen.
The whole party, you have like a professional camera crew in there recording everything,
Okay.
and then you edit together a nice reel.
Yeah.
And then you play that.
Little behind the scenes bonus feature.
At the end,
Little audio
the lights
commentary.
go down. The lights go down and everyone's applauding. They think it's over. They think the night's over. And then all of a sudden, after about 10 seconds of silence, you hear, "Now I've had the time of my life." And I come out on stage and we do the lift.
Little pottery.
People think they've had the best night of their lives, and then that shit happens.
I'm in. We can't call it a funeral, though. I just don't feel right about it. I feel like it's bad luck. But celebration of we really should do.
I think this could be.
live
I think this could be
funerals.
the hot new trend, like gender
Living
reveal
funerals.
parties. Like
I think
Sure.
so. I like the idea of it. It is oddly tragic. Some families get together all the time. They're super social. They know what's going on with each other at all walks of life. And there are a lot of families that don't talk. And then there are families like mine that are somewhere in between. And we really don't get together unless, with birthdays, I guess, and holidays. But the real big get-togethers with all the family that you haven't seen since the last funeral and the last wedding, it's funerals and weddings.
Uh-huh.
That's the only time you see the extended family in my family. I think a lot of people are like that. And that's really weird, and it's really sad. Not so much with the weddings, but weddings, let's be honest, there's probably going to be another. So do you catch this one or the second one? It's probably best to catch the first one. It's like catching the first performance of a play. There may be some flubs, but the energy's there,
When was the last time you went to a family reunion?
Before my grandma died, which is oddly enough, was on this very fucking day.
Really?
What, 6 years ago, 7 years ago? That would have been 2015, 7 years ago. And it was also this very day where I opened Radar Station in my house for the first night. It was our first opening. She died later that night. So I remember those. Kind of odd how we accidentally found our way to that. But... Yeah, it's been since she died. She was she was one of those glue people, all families and circles of friends for that matter. There's a glue person. Chris, I feel like you're kind of a glue person. I feel like you were in the past. Maybe you're not now. Lifestyles change and relationship stuff changes and friends. But for a while, I definitely looked at you that way because you did parties and, you were... I don't know. You were one of those bridge people that kind of bring people together and of all walks of life that might not necessarily have come together. I did that with Radar Station, but I don't really do that in life.
Really?
But no, in life, I'm kind of an antisocial. And I thought that radar station felt like a sea change in that, but I think what it really was more of a fluke. Not that I was entirely social during radar station. I hated people then too, but I had to be social. I had to be that guy, and I was out and about and on the spot, and I still do to some degree to stay active in like the local arts and entertainment community. But no, I really just kind of like being off doing my own thing. I used to like entertaining, oddly enough. I don't really do that anymore. At some point, it kind of feels, it's sad to say, I suppose, but it kind of feels like you've been to all the parties, you know? You've had all the conversations. Yeah. So you get a little choosier. And sometimes just going to bed at 9:30 sounds awesome as fuck.
That's me. Mm-hmm.
We're fucking middle-aged, for God's sake. I mean, it's like, it's fair.
It's me basically every day, too.
I found
9:30. Time to hit the hay.
I find it so hard.
I found through COVID, I think that I became quite antisocial because I couldn't go anywhere. You know, I had to mask up and do everything to just go to the store the first, 3 years or 2 years. And then getting sick, that screwed me up so bad that it's, it was just literally just going to dialysis and going to the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
So I never took the time to hang out with any of my friends, for 3 years.
Yeah, well, you couldn't. I mean, not really. You could have, but yeah, it's a pain.
Half of them are assholes, and they don't believe in COVID even existed. So,
well, see, that's the other thing about getting older is you start making those kinds of choices. Like you're like, I'm going to go my own way. I'm not going to cave to my ass face friends that I am disagreeing with this thing.
But in that, you change as a person.
Yeah,
I think the longer they say the safest place to be is alone. You know what I mean? So your mentality and your all around wellness, I think, kind of thrives in its emptiness. You know what I mean? A little bit. If that makes any sense, you know what I mean?
Well, it does for some people, and for other people, this has been hell on earth.
Yeah,
because some people just cannot sit with themselves. They won't. We've talked about this all throughout COVID, and brutal for those kinds of people. And I feel bad. I really feel bad for those kinds of people.
I don't need somebody, like breathing down my neck all the time. It's just like I'm comfortable being alone. You know?
Yeah.
It's just like whatever.
Chris, you said. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to.
I was just going to say, in that I have changed quite a bit in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And facing death and everything else, I've changed quite a bit. My fuck you level has just gone up. It's like,
of course. Chris, you said you have a hard time with that. You saying you have a hard time going to bed early, or you have a hard time socializing?
No, I'm having a hard time. No, I'm wanting to go to sleep earlier, and I'm hating it.
You're fighting. You're fighting middle age.
I'm fighting it.
It might not necessarily be a middle age thing. You're dad. I mean, you're a fucking parent now.
Well, I could tell you that one of the best, easiest ways to think about it is the earlier you wake up, the more time you have for yourself.
Oh, it's true, but it doesn't matter. Like if I go to bed earlier, I just want to sleep. I don't get up earlier.
You don't want to get
that's how I am too.
It's 11 o'clock. Oh, fuck.
Well, my problem is I don't sleep through the night no matter what. So if I go to bed early and I wake up at 1:30 in the morning, I'm up until I start to hear the roosters, and then that's when I'll start to fade off again. But
well, I mean, for Chris, you could just get up at 6 and then maybe get a small little gym, like a good bench and a set of dumbbells, and just use them, because that's all.
That's what I'd like to do. Actually, it sounds.
That's
great.
all. That's all you need.
Right now, you just go straight to Pornhub and just lift
6
the one
dumbbell. One dumbbell over and over again. My arms is huge, guys. My arms is looking ripped. Roll Patrol.
Anybody seen my lube?
My kid just looked up at me and said, "Ripped."
No, son, I'm sober.
Lyle, did you have any stories you wanted to bring?
I really don't. I've been fighting this sickness.
Yeah.
Dialysis made me sick 2 times in a row, and then today I kind of felt okay. But I was so I have about 4 years of dialysis papers. I mean, we're talking millions of dollars worth of bills and crap. And so I traditionally gave it the old salute and burned them in my fireplace last night. And Let me tell you, it was a lot. And then I had a bunch of GameStop magazines that I also threw in there. But I had the box that Gold Top came in. For those who don't know, I ended up being dumb and picking up a Epiphone Gold Top, and it was like right before I told I was going to be evicted.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you do now? But I had the box out in the living room, and I took my sword off my mantle, and I was like, I have one swipe. And I hit it once. I went halfway through it. I spun it around. I hit it again, and then I hit it one more time, and then went through it. But my wrist, oh my God! I woke up this morning and it felt like I obviously sprained my wrist, but so much pain. I'm in really torturous pain right now.
Yeah. There are less cool ways to injure yourself than through swordplay.
Not really. That's pretty cool.
Sling.
That's a cool one.
Sling.
I was a ninja.
Whatever happened to your Ibanez Les Paul?
I still have it. In fact,
might surprise a lot of people to know that Ibanez does have their own signature Les Paul.
Yeah, the Gold Top, it plays a lot like that Ibanez. I mean, a lot.
I love that guitar.
It's not as low to the ground like on the bridge.
Yeah, but
it's still in your left hand and you're fingering it. It feels just like it.
Yeah. Good fingering sensation.
I was impressed.
It was like me when I got my flashlight. Oh boy.
Finger. The white Les Paul that I have, it's for some reason they took it really low, the back bridge.
Yeah.
And it does play good, and it's
I love it.
But I'm really glad I had made that purchase. Chris, you need to buy that bass.
I know, it's so beautiful.
It's a good looking bass.
Before we move on to my other stories, I got to play this thing that my friend Amy sent. Amy Stewart. Hey, I don't know if I've talked about her on the show or not, but she lives here fairly locally, and she is a world-renowned puzzle designer. If you go to Buffalo Games, one of the bigger companies, and like on their homepage, I just see a whole bunch of Amy Stewart collection. If you do a lot of puzzles, you have put together at least one of her puzzles. And I actually got to go out to her studio not that long ago, and it's like Pee-wee's Playhouse. It's got all these items that she collects and put some of them in her puzzles and her little studio there, and it was enchanting. But she sent me this. It's just somebody tweaking the vocals, Ozzy's vocals on Black Sabbath's classic War Pigs. And I don't know why, but I laughed so hard when I heard this. I just thought I'd play it real quick.
General.
Oh, got the wrong clip here. And I guess I got to go back into...
Generals gathered in the masses.
And it was labeled as Black Sabbath, tweaking Ozzy's voice to be spooky for Black Sabbath, but for some reason it just made me fucking laugh. But give it a listen. It is a little eerie.
Generals gathered in the masses.
What the?
Just like witches in the masses. In the fields of bodies burning, as the war machine
I wish I could sing like that. Like King Dan.
That's truly disturbing.
That's enjoyable. It is creepy.
Let me get a try.
Truly disturbing.
Yeah, it reminded me of like listening to Lyle.
Generals. Here you go.
Generals listed in the just like witches at Black Mercy.
Oh, that's not bad. A little bit of that same tone going in there. So thank you for sending me that, Amy. It'll be in my dreams tonight. Okay, where are we at time-wise? I'm going to do a couple more here. This one, real quick, this is a nice little short story. This is a warning that Chris and I don't have to be too worried about. But if you are in the Pacific Northwest and you are a fan of oysters, especially raw, the health department here is saying they're advising you to stick with chicken nugs or some other snackaroo for now because there's a big outbreak of shellfish virus that it's a norovirus, so it gives you essentially the stomach flu, but it can also lead to intestinal infections. So ye be warned. But it got me thinking, it's interesting how I don't really think that often about animals getting viruses. But imagine if there was like some virus going around that was, some chicken plague that was killing the bulk of the world's chickens. That would fuck us up pretty damn quickly just from a food source. And then that chain reaction would be crazy. And then the economic reaction would be crazy. And I thought that I don't even want to entertain the notion of something going around killing our kitty cats. That'd be horrible.
It was the mad cow disease.
Well, I was thinking about that, but that wasn't a virus. That was something that we were giving.
Main thing.
So that wasn't catching, and we found out fairly quickly what was causing that, and changed it. And it seems like
prions.
It was giving cows their own brains for snacks. But to your point, that was an illness in the animals that could be transferred to us. And from what I remember, that shit didn't get cooked out. Like E. coli and salmonella and all this stuff, you can cook that out. I feel like mad cow wasn't something you could cook out. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but yeah, that was scary because we didn't know what was causing that for a while. Made a lot of lifelong vegetarians, or at least temporary vegetarians.
I don't think you can cook it out because that's a thing that would happen to like people as well. I think this is true, and it's not some bullshit that's been foisted on me by sci-fi movies, but I'm pretty sure that if humans eat human brains, they will also become affected that way because there's something to do with the structure in it, that there's some protein or something in it that causes that reaction that basically makes you like lose your shit too and fucks up your nervous system.
Well, I want to say that is real. It's in the the Amazon. Cannibals, people that were eating other people, and what was happening was it was giving them a brain infection, and they were all like getting super sick, and because of it, I'm pretty sure that's a real deal.
Yeah, I think it's from eating the same brains of your own species, but apparently there's like a thing that can happen when I don't know.
You can't eat the brains. Just stick with
don't eat the brains.
Gary's rump. Have his ribs.
Don't be like them zombies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just me.
Humans got the best ribs. I've said it all along. We would have the absolute best ribs. Long ribs. Fuck these short ribs. Give me them long people ribs. Upright pig, they call us. This is an interesting story. This is a swingers club story, and I'm just going to read this right off of the Mirror. I'm selecting, but I'm reading it directly off it. This led me to hearing a term that I wasn't used to hearing, not the way I was used to hearing it anyway, and we'll discuss in a second. But a swingers club with 43 rooms is on the brink of closure. This is in Derby. Brink of closure as its devastated owner searches for a new place to accommodate the popular business. The attic has been tucked away in the Osmaston Works building on the Osmaston Road Business Park in Derby since 2007. Both owner Ron Rothwell must now find both owner. Oh, but owner. That makes more sense. But owner Ron Rothwell must now find a new home by November of 2023 after the building was sold, blah, 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 blah. The interesting thing here is that this thing exists. A 43-room swingers club as a legitimate business. It never occurred to me that this would swing, no pun intended, in some places. But he says, it's devastating, really. We've done everything we can. We complied with the city council. So it wasn't a clandestine thing. It's just sort of an economic thing, and you got to go. People travel from Scotland, Ireland, Wales, everywhere to come to the club. I wonder if old Thorny over in Wales knows about this one. We've even got one couple who come from France once a month. They said, we put a lot of work in there to make it grow and grow. We just hope the council will give us some help to get on our feet somewhere else. The customers are all upset, and we've had lots of offers to help move if we do get somewhere. It's surprising how many people have said they'll come and help, but we do get a lot of help from people. People are happy with it, and they like to feel a part of things. The attic, it has 43 rooms with themes, including schoolroom, Aztec, and also boasts of an adult cinema, a maze and dungeon, as well as a realistic dogging zone.
Like kennel?
Do you guys know what dogging is? That was my first thought. I was like,
we've talked about this. I can't. It's something to do with swinging, right? Am I wrong? No.
Yeah, I don't remember talking about it.
I think it's a sexual thing.
Oh,
Dogging.
it's dogging. Yeah. Is it a British thing? It's a British thing.
It's a British
sure,
term.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's swinging.
It's like one of the pink, two in the snake.
It seems to be
in a park, right?
Exhibitionist.
Like a public swinging.
The name dogging was derived from single men that would spy on couples fornicating in cars back in the 80s. But apparently the dogging rooms, it's funny that you remember that. I've totally fucking lost it. But so I looked it up on Adult Hub. It says dogging is a broad term that defines al fresco, which I thought goes good with, noodles and some garlic bread. But adult fun that a surprisingly massive amount of people like to participate in. There's a variance of the types and places where doggers are active, from the cliche scenario of a soul car rocking in a secluded park, a car park, to a shameless park bench for the world to see. So in this case, it sounds like what they probably set up was the experience of being out in a park or maybe somewhere in public, and they had like a dogging room that gave you that voyeuristic or exhibitionist, I should say,
maybe it was
like, dogging of yore.
In Amsterdam, have a lot of windows, to the ladies, and maybe they just have you go up against the window.
Could be. Well, that's what I think it was. You have, little theater seats to enjoy.
Give me that noise
show.
again, Lyle. One more time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You might have to go back.
No, I think we nailed it twice.
Nice.
I think that's about all I got. And looking at the clock, that should do us pretty close because we have a round of Weird Triv, but we also are going to end the show on Lyle's pick for most underrated LP of all time, and he teased what that was last week, but we're going to treat it like we haven't heard it all the same. I do need to lower my curtain, probably get rid of a beer. You want to take a quick break and then come right back?
Sure.
All right, 2 and 2.
All right, you guys, I think we're all back here. Let me do some quick comments and feedback. I'm going to try to bring that before News Quiz every week here. We all here?
Yeah.
All right. Some people seem to like News Quiz last week, specifically the FDA approved condom section. Skip says, this episode is FDA approved, which made me laugh. Katie Searcher Jeff says, News Quiz, this episode was chef's kiss. Hold me closer, tiny condom. I laughed, I cried, I cringed. Didn't we all?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't we all, Katie?
We've done our job.
Sarah Ray Shields says, oh my God. When you're all talking about Notre Dame, I was thinking of the college, and I was like, what the fuck? I was clueless until someone said catacombs.
Yeah, who knows what's under those? Even our own East Coast, it's old enough. Some of those Catholic church probably have their own catacombs, maybe? Oh, who knows?
Andrea Smith Newburn says, I really need to stop listening at work.
I saw that, and I was hoping that she'd elaborate, but she never did.
I hope she does, because I'm curious now.
Can only imagine.
Abby Holmes says, ha ha ha, I'll see your Willie and raise you a Woody. That sentence has so many good things going on at once. A masterpiece.
Yeah, that was good. Good moment.
Ben says, listening now and excited for News Quiz and the new intro. I love that new intro. Makes me happy.
Cute and ready.
Lastly, I did get an email from Jeff, winner of last week's Strange Triv Championship round. Also, we were talking about his brother who passed. He says, Ronster and jarred farts bring home the victory. Oh, hell yeah. I was screaming for Ron to go with the booby assault, not the ferrets, so I'm thankful for the glitter warrior cockblocking everyone else on that question. All hail the Ronster.
Yes, I'm glad that worked out. That was a poignant win.
Okay, that's all I got for comments right now. You guys want to dive right into some strange trivia, some weird trivia?
I think we better, but we got to start off proper here. So
give it to me.
It's Weird Trivia with Christopher F. Hart. A man from Florida who thinks square shit in nature. Don't get me started on the goddamn brown hair. It's Weird Trivia that might get Christopher fired.
The only part that I always have to sing along with is poop things. Just satisfies. It's 2 notes.
Most of the crowd is stuck on that one as well. Side note, I have some groceries that are coming. I thought they'd be here later, but they're going to be here in the next 15 minutes, so I may have to say pause for a second, grab them.
Well, you have to put the delivery guy on.
Yeah.
Or gal.
Or gal. Oh, shit.
2022. Okay. Women exist.
Women can deliver groceries too.
Women exist now. I just read that.
All right, Ronster, if memory serves me correctly, you did win last week, championship round. For Jeff. So you're going to go first today. We're going to go in traditional order. Okay. Ronster, then John Mark, and then Lyle. Ron, you're going to be playing for Sarah Ray Shields. John Mark's playing for Skip Valtisco, and Lyle is playing for Andrea Smith Newburn today.
Alrighty.
All right, 4 questions. Question 1. This world-famous artist is renowned for being frugal. He actually would take groups of people out to expensive dinners, and when the bill came, he would write a check for it, and then making sure the server or owner of the restaurant was watching, he would sketch something on the back of the check and sign his name, ensuring that the check would likely never be cashed. Who was this artist? Was it A, Pablo Picasso?
He's a bastard like that.
Salvador Dali.
Him too.
Vincent van Gogh. Or Claude Monet.
Well, I don't know much about Monet. I know that Van Gogh was broke as shit, so he would have a lot of reason to not want to pay, but the other two, Dali and certainly Picasso, were just cocks. And but I feel like the cockiest artist that I hear about is Picasso. Like he's just a hateable fuck. Yeah, it seems like something he'd do. It's a good concept though, because
genius. Come on,
he's writing the check. There's your money. Yeah. Go cash it. What? Go cash it. Yeah, that's my bet.
Okay, John Mark.
I've heard this story. I know this story, but I cannot remember who it was. Sadly, so I'm going to go with. Can you just repeat the premise one more time, real quick?
Yeah, this world famous artist was renowned for being frugal. He would take groups of people out to expensive dinners, and when the bill would come, he'd write a check for it, and then making sure the server or owner of the restaurant was watching, he'd like sketch a little sketch on the back and sign his name, almost ensuring that it would never be cashed. Pablo Picasso, Salvador Dali, Vincent van Gogh, or Claude Monet?
I'm going to go with... Picasso's a good one. I'm going to go with Van Gogh.
Okay, down to a solid C. Lyle, what you got, baby?
Oh, I don't know too many of these artists. I'm sure I do, but like I'm going to go with Vincent van Gogh.
Interesting. I don't know this, but I'd be surprised if it was Van Gogh because he wasn't famous until he was dead. So I don't know how valuable that drawing would be.
Interesting analyzing, not from analyze. Okay.
But I'm not feeling confident because John Mark had heard of it. I don't know that I have heard this.
Okay, question 2. This is a weed-related question, and as this is my kingdom, it'll be worth 2 points. Lyle, can I get a little double point action?
Double points.
Perfect. Just as I wanted it. Okay.
Yeah, it's crisp.
There you go. Mike Tyson has been dabbling in the weed industry for a while now. In fact, he's been selling several different strains and forms of weed since 2016. And it's now estimated he might be netting about $500,000 a month from his cannabis endeavors. He's got a little empire he's been growing out.
That's a gig. $500,000 a month.
He's about to release some Mike Tyson edible gummies soon. One of these things I'm about to read to you is true about these gummies.
Okay.
Is it A? They're from a strain called Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Good call. Nice word.
Yeah. Packs a punch. That's a good name for a strain.
B. Mike Tyson hand waters the plants used for these edibles up to 3 times a day on his farm.
Serious? Serious? Who's got my water bucket? Who's serious?
I talk to my plants.
Is it C? Each package of edibles comes with a temporary Mike Tyson face tattoo.
A little like
these are good. You've made up some good ones already.
Or is it D? The gummies are shaped like little ears.
I'll bite them off.
Oh boy. I wonder if he would have that good of a sense of humor. He's a hard one to dial in. Concerning that, and I don't follow him. Like I'm kind of a boxing fan, but not a boxing fan, and I certainly wasn't watching him fight back in the day much. I want to go with that, but I don't. Oh,
you never played any.
That's a
2
gimmick.
points on the line.
That
2
is
points.
A gimmick. Never did what, Lyle?
Watch or play Mike Tyson's Punch Out. Dodge left.
I played it, but it never interested me. Sports games never interested me for some reason, even though I was, except for Blades of Steel. Schling. That's a great fucking game. Oh, that game pissed me off when I was playing.
Pitfall was my jam about that time.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with. Oh, I feel like it's the tattoo, but I'm gonna go with the ear because the ear is the better gimmick, and that's a better story. I'm gonna go with that. A gummy, you could bite his fucking ear. It's brilliant. And if you made that up, then you need to submit this to the company. It's like, listen, Mike, I know you're only making a tawdry $500,000 every per 27 days, but yeah, that's my guess.
Oh, yeah. 6 months a year, or $6 million a year, no big deal.
Mm-hmm. Chris, you getting your?
Oh, he's smoking.
Nope, sorry,
groceries.
Not yet. Okay, Joe Mark.
I think I'm going to go with Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Good call. Good choice.
On the
down for the strain of Mike Tyson's Punch Out. I would smoke the shit out of that. Oh. Okay.
It's a great
on
title.
the heels of John Mark, I'm going to go with Mike Tyson's Punch Out too.
Right.
Not to copy him, but that's the one.
I can tell you that my favorite thing about Mike Tyson's Punch Out is the name. I always thought that was a cool name. And I know that Mike Tyson got slapped onto it later. Like the game was Punch Out. Mm-hmm. But then when Mike Tyson became huge, they added him to it.
Is that true? Mm-hmm. I thought he was the first one and then they had to remove him. I thought that
my
was
memory
the way
tonight
around.
Is not proving stalwart.
my
you move on.
I'll
give it a quick
Tyson's.
Look up.
Okay. Yeah, I thought that after his abuse allegations, they removed because it was right after it launched. That was when he.
You might be right.
I might be wrong though. I'm curious. Okay.
Interesting that it could go either way.
It's interesting that you're going to look this up because speaking of Mike Tyson, question 3 is another Mike Tyson related question.
Should I hold off then?
No, I don't think it'll be a problem at all. So this is kind of a weird one. I thought was interesting though. Mike Tyson, who we've mentioned above, is a bit of a weed enthusiast. Once was quoted for saying that his biggest regret in life was not smoking weed with this person. This was his biggest regret in life. Was it A, Tupac? Was it B, and this is quite an eclectic list as you can tell, is B, Eddie Money? Smoke me out tonight. Was it C, his dad?
Don't we all kind of wish we'd get fucked up with our folks? I definitely won't ever have that experience.
Yeah, my brother, her brother's funeral. I think I smoked weed with my mom, but that was the first time that's ever happened. But she hadn't even smoked weed in like probably 5 or 6 years.
I just think it's such a fun. Like I remember being super stoked to get drunk with my grandparents for the first time. That was such a wild experience and such an odd bonding experience. It's like, yeah, they're just people that like to get fucked up like me. Mm-hmm. Why haven't we been doing this since I was 12?
Or was it D, his 9th grade gym teacher, whom he accredits his love of boxing to?
Okay.
Again, Mike Tyson, who we mentioned above, the weed enthusiast, has said his one regret in life was that he never got to smoke weed with A, Tupac, B, Eddie Money, C, his papa, or D, his 9th grade gym teacher. What you got, Ronster?
This is tough.
2 points. 2 points on the line here, since it's a Tyson twosome.
Twosome. Oh shit. I
double pull.
Give me a Tyson twosome, Lyle. Tyson twosome.
Do Punch Out 2.
Yeah.
Tyson twosome.
Tyson twosome. Well, I like the sounds of that. I think I'm gonna go with the old man, even though I kind of want it to be. wait. You know what? No, I gotta go with Eddie Money because that's so fucking. That's so far out of left field. Like of all the, I know that you're clever enough to throw these herrings in. I don't know what herring that. I guess it could be a green herring. Overall, money, the color of money. I'm gonna go with Eddie Money.
In the scheme of things.
Mm-hmm. Okay. John Mark.
Yeah, that's what I was leaning towards too, because it's just so random. But that's probably the joke. But I'm going with Eddie Money.
All right.
I am tossed between coach and dad. Like I just told you.
Some poor
There's a
kids
phrase. There is a phrase.
Well, no, like
I'm tossed between coach and dad.
I smoked weed with my mom for the first time and only time at my uncle's funeral. And so it seemed like it was kind of a thing, it was like, he was kind of a pothead. So it was just like, whatever, go with the flow.
Mm-hmm.
But he wanted us to be, not having a somber party, but having a party, not being sad and all, poopy. But the thought of a mentor, like somebody like my old metal shop teacher in high school, would I want to smoke weed with him? Probably. It'd be funny, Mr. Eggleston.
That makes some metal shit.
I dated his daughter, so he didn't like me.
Well, he tried to get me to date his daughter.
Oh, interesting.
Like anything be better than that wrong
I guess
guy.
he just didn't like me.
Didn't like you.
That is fair.
Yeah, I was the what do you call them? The when you teaching everybody, teacher's helper or whatever.
Oh yeah, TA. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hey, I'm gonna go with dad because your dad's gonna probably push you to be a boxer or to do your best versus a coach in a minuscule timeline, a 3-year timeline. That's not really. It's enough to leave an imprint on you, but same with your father. Your father's been around the whole time. So, and if he passed, it's kind of one of those things. Man, I would have smoked weed with my dad.
Yeah. Well, before we move on, I looked it up. Punch Out started as the arcade game as Punch Out, and then looks like when it went to the NES, that's when they added Mike Tyson.
That's what I thought. Like,
I thought they took it off after he got in trouble, though.
They might have. It doesn't say in the summary here. They may. That was a popular game, so they could have kept selling it, and then eventually, it sounds right that they did take him off, but I don't know. Maybe they just stopped selling it because, by that time, I feel like that game would have been played out by the time that because wasn't it Robin Givens?
Well, I think the second console
allegedly beaten. Say it again, Lyle.
Well, there's another console that came out right after that too.
Tell you what, let me hit Mike Tyson's Punch Out in this and see what that says. Part of the Punch Out series, an adaptation of the 1983 arcade game with him added. Well, Go ahead on, Chris. I'll keep perusing while still listening.
Okay.
Keep the show moving.
Here's your chocolate milk, dude. Take it. There you go, Bubba.
Sweet.
Oh my God, he's not talking
Enjoy,
to Sarah's dog, is he? This guy's always trying to
Enjoy,
hand
lap
out
it up, big guy.
chocolate
Who's
to
a good
small
boy?
things. Chris always has chocolate in his pocket.
Oh my.
Okay. Question 4, last question of the night here. Jamie Lee Curtis was on Jimmy Kimmel a couple of weeks ago, and she told him during their interview that she's going to be officiating her daughter's wedding in her own backyard this summer. And it's a themed wedding. She's going to be dressed in cosplay for it. What is the cosplay theme of the wedding?
I know. I know. But
Is it Lord of the Rings? Is it Harry Potter?
Harry Potter?
Is it World of Warcraft? Or is it horror movie themed?
Could you repeat the question? I got the answers, but could you repeat the question?
Jamie Lee Curtis is going to be marrying her daughter. She's going to be officiating her daughter's wedding, and it's going to be in her own backyard over the summer here. It's going to be a themed wedding, and everyone's going to be dressed in cosplay. What's the theme? Is it Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, World of Warcraft, or horror movie?
Well, horror movie is definitely what pops to mind, of course. But is that too on the nose? I don't know anything about World of Warcraft.
Works.
I'm torn between, I'm thinking Lord of the Rings, but I'm gonna go World of Warcraft.
Oh shit! From left field.
Well, here's why. World of Warcraft, unlike you see things pop up from these other franchises from time to time, but World of Warcraft just doesn't seem to die. Is it still a game? Must still be a game, huh?
It's pretty dead.
It's huge still. Yeah. No, they released that like
it's still there. Yeah.
They just brought
released
out a
that, like-
franchise, nobody plays it.
I don't know. I think it's still got a ton of subscribers, but I may not be as popular as it once was. But they released like the classic, where it's like the very first version of it that was released 15 years ago or whatever.
Oh, so they're not.
People went nuts of it.
They're not updating this like they did with.
Oh, they still are. No, they're still putting out. They're still putting out expansions for the other one too.
I'm gonna stick with my answer.
It's a completely different game now, though. It's like there's so many new systems and stuff that it's completely different. That's why they put the original one out, so people could go back to it and go, "Oh yeah, this kind of sucked back in the day, but it's all we had." So
I remember that. I don't know which one came first or what era this was, but I remember it feels like it was a long time. I feel like I was working in the packaging department, but maybe it was somewhere in the world. People are talking about EverQuest, and they called it Evercrack because they could not.
Evercrack.
It was ruining their lives. Like the guy that was telling me about it was like, he was bragging about it and saying this is the greatest thing ever. And I was like, this is stealing your world of Warcraft. Or Evercrack, anyway. Yeah, I don't know. It's probably fucking Lord of the Rings. I feel like the horror one is too on the nose, but anyway, not strong on any of these. This has been a lot of guessing tonight.
Yep.
Tough.
John Mark.
So what did we have? We had Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, World of Warcraft, and horror movie.
And horror theme movie.
Horror movie theme.
Horror movie theme.
Horror movie theme.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, well, obviously a horror movie theme makes sense, but I'm gonna go with fuck it, Harry Potter.
Okay.
Harry Potter.
That's another one that probably won't ever die, even with the controversy of what's her J.J. Rowling? J.K. Rowling? J.K. Rowling.
J.K.
Yeah, she's kind of a controversial fig.
I was surprised how many movies there were out. I figured there was like a handful, maybe 4 or 5.
I kind of want to watch them at some point. I mean, I've seen them all over the years, but
I haven't watched them.
I kind of want to marathon those one.
No.
Okay, Lyle, what you going with?
Sick.
It's hard to choose because of not knowing like the age range of her daughter. Jamie Lee Curtis was the one in Aliens, Or
no, she was in Halloween and True Lies, which is not a horror movie, but my favorite performance of her.
Jamie with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Arnold Smith, come on, let's go.
Sigourney Weaver was in Aliens.
That's what I was thinking I'm gonna go with monsters because I think that would be more of a play where I would like to see if you had like all the money in the world, picking those four. I think the Lord of the Rings would be fucking dope. You know, I hire a seamstress where they just like outfit you as like an elf or something like that. Just walk around like a what do you call those medieval fairs? You know,
Renaissance
wedding. And then you got to think that the bride's going to be all glammed out with a super awesome fucking huge fucking monster dress, and you know, it's kind of more of a.
It could be a really pretty wedding, but
yeah,
it's all kind of hokey. But it's funny that Jamie Lee Curtis is thought so much of as a scream queen because the overwhelming majority of her body of work is nowhere near horror, but iconic movies.
I'm gonna go with monsters. Monsters.
And did Chris have to bow out?
We're out of break.
Oh, groceries are there. Yeah,
groceries are here.
I'm trying to think of any other horror movie that Jamie Lee Curtis was in other than the Halloween movies. Can you guys think of any?
Not really.
Was she in The Mist?
I never saw The Mist.
Wasn't she in The Mist?
I don't know. Never saw it. I missed it.
Pretty sure she was in The Mist.
You see, folks, word plays.
You missed it?
Well, while we're waiting for Jamie, I'll look up Christopher's Internet Movie Database.
There we go.
Jamie Lee Curtis horror movies. Oh, wasn't she in? Are you thinking of The Fog?
The Fog, that's what it was.
She was in The Fog, yeah. How did I forget that?
Fogging shit.
I think she was in The Fog. She had to have been. I can picture
Yeah, pretty
her.
sure.
Oh, no, she wasn't. That was, who was that? Barbado.
No, it was in The Fog. No, it was Jamie Lee Curtis. Her mom was in it too.
Yeah.
Oh.
Ugh, ow.
What am I thinking of? Barbeau. No, I think it was.
There's a really easy way for us to figure this out.
I know. I'm trying. I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna look up the Fog cast. It's Barbeau, I think, is her last name. Adrienne Barbeau is who I'm thinking of. She was in Swamp Thing. All right, The Fog. Up at the toe. Adrienne Barbeau and Jamie Lee Curtis.
There you go.
Well, we were both right. Yeah, well, it's funny because it's crazy that I've seen that movie so many times, but God, at some point, everything just starts to blur. Like I was starting to blur that with Halloween 3 because of even though Jamie Lee Curtis is not in Halloween 3, but the dude from The Fog, the blonde-haired dude from The Fog is in Halloween 3. So I can just picture some of those scenes. And I picture Adrienne Barbeau in that lighthouse. She worked in the radio station that was like at that little lighthouse, right?
So
something like that.
But Jamie was the one that was out in the car with the dude. Yeah, it's coming back now.
So,
go ahead, Lyle.
So what was Halloween with Rob Zombie? Was that Halloween 4?
No, that was a reboot. Or
count.
I confuse reboots with remake. That was a remake. Or reboot. It's a reboot.
It's a reboot, yeah.
It doesn't. Yeah. It's not connected to the.
Oh.
Because
he did a storyline.
He did a couple of them, yeah. So reboot. Is that it? What the fuck?
And then they rebooted it, right? So, right?
I'm glad I'm not the only one that's struggled. I don't know. It's so hard to keep up with shit.
Because Jamie Lee Curtis is in the newer ones, and those are not Rob Zombie films. There's like two newer ones with Jamie Lee Curtis that continue the story of Laurie Strode.
There are two parallel universes when it comes to Halloween: the Rob Zombie ones and the ones that are still pulling from the original John Carpenter, 1979 or 1980, whenever that was, Halloween. Mm-hmm. Chris, you back?
82, 81.
Not going pee right now.
Original one, I think. 81, 82.
Halloween? No, I think that was the 70s movie. Didn't we just...
What?
Yeah.
Original Halloween?
Mm-hmm. I think that was on that little horror movie quiz I gave you guys, and I think that was one of...
Maybe it was.
One of many that you guys... That's definitely 70s.
Struggling, Ron.
Just like Jaws. Well, you guys thought that was an 80s movie, too.
When I first got that...
1978.
That Fire Stick, it has a horror channel. And I just left it on it, and I was like, fuck, this is the best it's going to get. And then that's all it played was old horror movies.
Does it have Shudder? Shudder's the shit.
Probably, man. They
Shudder's
just
the
play
shit. Speaking of
horror
shit.
movies after horror
You
movies.
guys watch Blood Machines on Shudder? It's fucking amazing.
None of it was
Not yet.
There's like 3 episodes, and they're both like less than 20 minutes, and it's like incredible.
I mostly just watch Joe Bob Briggs's specials, but that Creep Show
Blood Machines.
series, our buddy Michael wrote one of those episodes. Yeah,
Michael from California.
Rousselet, or is it Rousselet? Do we ever get closure on that?
I don't know. I always say
Bro Party
Rousselet in
Mask?
my head.
Yeah. Dude, Bro Party. Get it and watch it.
It's WenCon season normally, so I'm getting a bunch of old WenCon things popping up in my reminder feeds. I'm like, I miss that craziness. So, Chris, are you going to continue on the shitter, or you want us to wait?
Oh, I'm done. I've flushed, and we are prepared to move on to the exciting
Very
results.
stealth. You're just all over the place, living your best life.
That's one way to describe it. Okay. Question 1. This world famous artist was renowned for being as frugal as he was talented. He actually would take groups of people out to expensive dinners, write a check, and then draw a little drawing on the back, making sure to make eye contact with the waiter or owner so they knew he was doing it. Sign his name. It would never get cashed. We were talking about Salvador Dali.
Damn.
Imagine if they're just like wieners.
Probably were knowing him.
He didn't strike me as a frugal guy, but I guess I didn't really know much about him.
Yeah.
Cheap.
You must have missed him during his frugal phase. No.
He was such a kook.
Nobody got that right. Whiff off the bat here. They're kind of weird ones. I know a lot of guessing tonight, so fine.
For
sure. Mike Tyson's been dabbling in the weed industry for a spell now. He's been selling several different strains and forms of weed since 2016. Making a lot of money too. They're saying he might be making upwards of $500,000 a month on some of this stuff. He's going to be releasing some gummies though, and they might even be out at this point. But I have the photo here for you. The thing about this gummies is it's brilliant because coming over Facebook Messenger to you.
And holy shit, their ears.
They're called Mike Bites.
Mike Bites, and they even already have bites taken out of the ear.
Yeah, I heard the question wrong. I thought it was just talking about a strain of weed.
Oh, that's fucking hilarious.
Ronster, 2 points right off the bat. Boom.
He has his own talk show, and he ate a fucking ungodly amount of fucking THC.
Someone gave Mike Tyson a talk show.
No, it was like, I don't know. It's like me, those batch of brownies that I like make.
Welcome to Tyson Talks.
Well, Chris knows what I'm talking about those brownies. Those are 9 by 14 or something. Like he like a whole one of those and
per brownie.
Yeah, no, it's just ridiculous. Like just way too much weed.
Mm-hmm.
5, and then it was taking normal.
I want to bite into this so bad.
Yeah.
You know how I am about textures. You know how I am about
people flesh.
Semi-cannibal tendencies.
People flesh.
Mike bites.
Question
Amazing.
3. Speaking of Mike Tyson, we have another Mike Tyson's question here. When he did an interview a few years back, he said one of his biggest regrets in life was not getting to smoke weed with Tupac Shakur.
Oh, damn.
I guess they were friends or had been friends or maybe just connected a couple of times, but he just never got around to doing it. Now he's gone. Rest in peace, Tupac Shakur.
Yeah, 27 Club, yeah?
I think so. Yeah, I think he was that young. Isn't that crazy? Okay, sorry, it wasn't Eddie Money, wrong. I know you wanted it to be Eddie Money.
Good fucking herring, whatever kind of herring that is.
Yeah.
2 tickets to fool around. Although, didn't we all go with that?
I think that
no.
John Mark did
Lyle
as
went
well.
with
But Lyle went with his dad.
Mm-hmm.
Question 4. Jamie Lee Curtis was on Jimmy Lee Kimmel that she's going to be officiating her daughter's wedding in her own backyard. And it's a themed wedding. They're all dressing up in cosplay. The theme of the wedding was World of fucking Warcraft, Ronster. Look at that. Ronster in with another point at the end, which makes this, I believe, Ron 3, everyone else 0.
Wow.
Congratulations, Ronster. Again, 2 in a row.
Damn.
But bigger congratulations to Sarah Ray Shields. Hopefully it will not be my turn to send the present, so your dog shall live to see another day.
And if it's my turn, you don't have to worry about it.
Either way,
we're square.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. Thanks, guys. That was a fun round. Ronster, skunking the boys today.
Fucking hard round. I did not feel good about it. That's why I never win when I feel good about it, and I only win when I don't. I think Lyle pointed that out recently. One of you pointed that out recently, and
that's true.
I think you're right. Like whenever I feel like, oh, I fucked that up. Yeah. Although maybe it's, I don't know. I guess it's all guessing. But this one felt especially guessy. Some of them feel especially guessy. I think I might do better when it's like toss a fucking coin. 2-year Witcher.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about
toss a coin to the Runster.
Well, on that note,
The Witcher.
Oh, by the way, I've had 2 people reach out to me today about wanting to get involved or wanting to be on the show to play trivia. I think that once we've tried this thing where we want to poll from the comments, and we've given you an email option too, which is christopher.bizarre@gmail.com to get us to champion for you. I think we might be getting to the point where we're sort of playing this out, and it kind of seems to be the same people. And don't think that we don't appreciate you, but I think maybe to keep things fresh and a little bit more exciting moving forward, the thing to do will just be to get people on to play with themselves. And some weeks we won't have that, like this week, and some weeks we will. But I think more and more, the more people that do it, the more people will want to. Aislinn a couple people reached out to me, and I sent them your way, Chris. So hopefully, I know we got a handful of people that are wanting. It's all about sketch.
You said play with yourselves.
Oh, did I say with?
Yeah.
Come on our show and play with yourself anytime you want, y'all. It's an open call. We do it. What do you think we're doing right now? And christopher.bizarre@gmail.com.
Hey, nice job.
Yeah, I do got it now. Well, I had it before. I just doubted myself. See, there's so many things that I don't remember that I assume that I don't remember all, which of course is not accurate. On that note, Lyle, you are up. Bring us your pick for most underrated album of all time.
Tell me
I got a couple guesses what this might be. We'll see.
Tell me, why was Jesus crucified?
Oh, good.
Was it for this that Daddy died?
Mm-hmm. Nice little Roger Waters reverb happening there.
Gotta have it. I pondered it, and might get a little claps from the audience as they're driving to work. But I thought about Manowar. It was a metal band that had some really catchy tunes, and they were kind of more of a story based. You know what I'm talking about, Manowar.
Yeah, I love Manowar.
Kings of Metal.
Although I really only know one album. Yeah, Fighting the World.
Yeah. And so I thought about that, throwing that at John Mark and Chris. I'm sure John Mark's probably heard.
John Mark's probably heard him. I bet Chris would like Manowar because he likes Dragon Force, and Dragon Force is absolutely
they're similar.
An evolution of that power metal stuff. Halloween probably more than Manowar, but all that shit. That's what led to Dragon Force. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The second choice I was thinking about was Queensryche, Operation Mindcrime.
Oh, yes.
Because it's a Seattle-based band, and I would say it's kind of highly overrated. I've actually given copies of that to kind of like younger generation, like say 8 or 6 years younger, and they thought it was filth. Get that shit.
Damn.
No, they were like, get that shit away from me. What the fuck is that?
Yeah, stop giving tapes to kids.
Dude,
this man gave me a cassette. Come inside, Timmy.
He said his name was the Crippler.
Has a nun in it and stuff.
Yeah, another story-based album, another concept for sure.
It definitely is. But the pick I went with was Pink Floyd, The Final Cut. And this kind of appears after The Wall, kind of a little bit. A lot of people want to peg it on, like put a little donkey tail on it, saying it's from The Wall. It's really kind of not, but it's close. It's about at the time it came out in like 1983. And the ones that, were old enough to remember, the Cold War was kind of a fucking really scary time. Every country, that had nukes or had their finger on the button, and nobody knew. I knew people that their parents actually dug out their cellars and made bomb shelters, because that's what kind of fear I'm talking here, in the Wenatchee Valley, because of that fear of a nuclear war. And that's kind of what it's a little bit based around. It's a little bit, I don't know, it's British versus the Japan, the tail end of the war. And just like the wall, the final cut actually has like a video that plays the entire album. So you could kind of like watch, as they narrate the CD. So I mean, and there's actually one really good one on YouTube that describes it really well. If you just go Final Cut, review, you'll find it, probably the first or second ones. And he goes into super depth. I don't have time for that. I mean, he literally goes per song, per lyric, it's pretty daunting. But basically, it's about kind of like the whole going to war, kind of stepping up to do it, and then the betrayal of war, coming back home and having kind of that backstabbing kind of thing going on. And when you come back, the war is back in your lap. It's, the city you live in is being bombed out. And that's, I think that's sent the Fletcher Memorial. But it's one of those. I think the final cut was one of them. But it tunes out, like at the beginning, I think Believe, the post-war dream, that particular song starts out of a car going down the highway, and you could hear the wheels of the tires, and you could hear the radio turn on. And that's the beginning of it, saying that there is a chance of a nuclear war, and it's, coming. And they turn off the radio, and that's when the song starts. So it's like it's already brought back home. It's kind of like a prologue. It's the war is fallen back home to the Britannia. I don't know wherever.
Yeah, Britain.
So, I mean, if you have anything you want to throw in around, it's fine.
Well, what's funny, that movie I didn't know about until fairly recently, and it's a short film, but it was interesting to see that after years and years of listening to the album. But I don't have anything to add yet. I might at some point.
Okay.
But you're on the right track. Yep.
So basically, the post-war dream, it is what it is. It's the thought of, living in a house with a white picket fence after the war. You've sacrificed your life, your friends, everything else, and to come home and to live a life without that war, that novelty of winning, and being able to go on with your life. It's fictitious. It doesn't exist. And they kind of, drive that home, like in the video and stuff. What it is it's a man that fought over, in the war, and he comes back home and he becomes a school teacher, and he bottles all his emotions up. And he becomes, an alcoholic, and he drinks, and he starts taking out all his frustration and, stuff on the kids. He'd be smacking their hands with long, I don't know, sticks or whatever, rulers, whatever.
The pointer stick.
Yeah, pointer stick. Whack. There you go, little Tommy.
Back to your studies.
So, but like this kind of like takes over his whole life. There's a image, I think, I can't remember which song it is, but he's reaching for his bottle in his drawer, and he's got a revolver underneath a partial of linen, and he kind of fights with himself, and I think what a lot of people do with post stress disorder, when they actually fight in the war, they come home and then they fight. This is way before that was even a thing. Back in 1983, you came home and you were messed up. They just thought you were messed up. Get your shit together. Where it's obviously a mental problem. So I mean, they kind of nailed it over. I mean, they did that with the wall a little bit too, with drug abuse and whatnot. But yeah, like I said, there's a video on it that shows like kind of like the wall. You have a full video you could run it by, but that's kind of like the brass tacks of it all, of the whole music. One of my things that I used to love to do, and it was to have a little whiskey, and I'd break out my guitar and I'd play leads over the top of this album, and it was just amazing. It was so much fun. I felt like I was part of Pink Floyd.
Well,
cool.
What's interesting about this album, and one of the complaints a lot of people have, is the lack of David Gilmour on it, and he only has a couple of notable solos, so it does leave a lot of room to play over the top of it.
And it was one of those albums that he said that he would never play with them again. So it was kind of like the fallout of Roger Water, with the band. So,
well, see, that's what's so interesting about the lyrics, is because, it's about all those things Lyle said, but it also works as a metaphor for the ending of the band in a lot of ways. And that was the end of the band in terms of the Roger Waters, Pink Floyd, era.
Yeah. The thing about the thing also I love about it is it does tell a story. So like the first song is called Post-War Dreams, and that's basically, after the fact, of going to war and then everything settling down, getting your life back together. A few possible paths is just kind of like contemplating stuff. One of the few, I think that's when he's it's a short one. It's only like a minute long, so it's probably like audio.
Little interludes.
Yeah, when the tiger broke free. I don't remember what that one is really about.
Oh, that's From the Wall.
Oh, okay. And then the Hero's Return, obviously comes back. That's when he's getting kind of falling apart a little bit, drinking a lot and whatnots. And the Gunner's Dream, which I really, really like. It's a really cool song. It starts off as you hear wind going over. You're in a cockpit.
I do love some wind chimes.
Well, he's in a cockpit of a plane
chimes.
He's getting shot down. It's kind of like Iron Maiden, the whole Aces High. He's like flying around, but he's literally getting shot down during the beginning of the song, and they carry it to the end of the song. And it's basically, how he sacrificed himself. He died, he's dead. He's definitely did not make it. But he sacrificed himself, for the thought of others. It's like the beginning of that post-war dream. Tell me, why was Daddy crucified? Because it's like the Jesus, he died for our sins. Why did Dad, he died for our sins? Kind of a theory that they put out on it. And from Gunner's Dream, it goes Paranoid Eyes. I think it's when he's just like kind of at the bottom of the barrel and he's just like drinking his life away. Fletcher's Memorial, it's a really good song too. Southampton Dock, which is a really good one.
Fletcher's Memorial Home is awesome. It's sort of like this idea of like, where do all the old tyrants and kings go after they just turn into old people like everybody else. And it's like the concept of this memorial home, this old folks home with, all the old fucks that sent all the young boys to war. Yeah.
And the thing about it is the way that they portray it is like they didn't do anything to become where they're at. They were just lucky enough to get those positions. They weren't. It kind of reminded me of Will Smith smacking, somebody at the Oscars. What's wrong with you? There's a little, you just don't do that normally, and. So it was basically like saying all these, like the presidents, these officials and stuff like that, they were no better than anybody else, but yet they were put on these pedestals. And so that's when they're in their fancy little home, in the retirement home, they're all trying to like have a cocktail party. Oh, well, I'm this and that, and, higher above the new kind of crap. And from there it goes to, well, now I guess it kind of goes to that old, fuck you, I got to get on with this. It's kind of more of the industrial side of the war, trying to beat, Japan with products and stuff. It does have a little tendency of racism on the album.
It's it is, but it's told like they definitely use racist terms, but it's told like through the time of the
At that time, yeah.
Yeah, how it would have been portrayed in the papers and stuff at the time, yeah.
For sure. And I think Not Now, John is the name of the song. But then it goes into two Sons in a Sunset. And that's a really cool song. And it basically is the end of all. Literally the end of everything. You hear the static of the radio turning again. And you hear the car going down the highway again. And then you hear, that it's inevitable of the bomb coming, and it shuts off. And basically it's the song represents the death of everything, because the nuclear bomb goes and blows up the whole everything, and so everybody dies.
Yeah, if you haven't noticed, it's not a party album.
No, it's not.
It's one of the most depressing albums of all time, but it's Pink Floyd. They're not a party rock album in general, but I think this might be their bleakest album.
Well, it's pretty mellow. It's not really upbeat, for the most part. I mean, there are parts that are upbeat, but it's mainly the album itself is pretty mellow. It's pretty chill. You want to smoke, a little something, have a little thing of whiskey, and just get back. And
it's a ride. Listen. It's a show. It's a story. And one of the bummer things, I've been listening to it a lot lately, getting ready for this, and I have the record. That's how I usually listen to it. But one of the bummers about listening to these kinds of albums and all the other ones you mentioned too, like Operation Mindcrime and not so much with Manowar, but these concept albums, they tend to be congruent. Like one song bleeds into the next, and you have all these sound effects and little things happening.
For sure.
With digital, there's always a gap, and that's so disappointing that there's just like this, and then it comes back in, and it's like it really loses a lot of impact. And there are a lot of albums like this, anyway. It's one annoyance. If you have this record in your collection, Collect and Dust, absolutely pull that out. That's the way to go with this one, especially because you'll see every song there's an abrupt cut. Nothing really fades out into nothing. Everything leads to the next song. But the way digital, they haven't figured that out yet. They haven't figured out a way of making that a seamless transition from one song to the next. There's always like a second or so of just gap. But it's a good pick, and I'm curious to hear what you all think. Go into it knowing that it's, this is not your party album. It's a depressing. One of the more depressing things about it is how much it still resonates. Like there's a song called "Get Your Filthy Hands Off My Desert." It's all about the control of these areas that have oil and what's going on right now in the world. But since then, it's never stopped, and nuclear war threats have never stopped. It's just like every now and again, that's all we're talking about. Then it kind of goes away. Gas prices get spiked for whatever reason, and we're still on this fossil fuel, and it's still a bunch of old fucks sending a whole bunch of young people off to war to die for their games. So it's pretty bleak. But it is an opera. If you could think about it more like, it's a rock opera. Some of it even it doesn't sound operatic, but there's some symphonic elements and almost, what's the word? Like Baroque. There's a lot of Baroque elements to it. And some symphonic shit happening in the background while there's a very smart ass yet very angry Roger. I definitely think this is Pink Floyd's most political album. And it's hard to miss any of that. I never had the nerve to make the final cut. Really good, really polarizing album. And again, like we talked about last week, it's even amongst Pink Floyd fans. A lot of people have never heard of it or have never listened to one second of any of the songs.
I don't. Yeah, I know of it, but I don't think I've ever actually listened to it.
Yeah, there's no hits. You'll never hear anything on the radio, but there are a few songs that definitely are good enough to be hits, but they just never worked, especially not in 1983. It's a short album. It moves pretty quickly. So it does. And I think that's why so many people think, like I'm one of them. I really do feel like this. It's not connected to the wall. Lyle's right. But I do feel like it works as a sort of addendum to it. It works as a side 3 to The Wall. The Wall is this epic, huge odyssey. But if you liked The Wall, I think that you're going to like quite a bit of this album.
Yeah. You know, and you don't even really have to dial in the album. You could just dial in the YouTube video and watch the video. Or like I recommended, the just go Pink Floyd, the Final Cut review. And it should be like the first or second one that comes up. And he really, really goes into deep. I mean,
just put your headphones on.
That's not listening to it.
Yeah, just put your headphones on, kick back.
Listen to it, and then go back and maybe watch the reasoning. And
this is a headphones album. There's a moment right before Get Your Hands Off My Filthy Desert where it's like you hear somebody yelling way off in the distance, like, "Hey, get your filthy hands off my desert." What'd he say? Yeah. It's just this massive explosion. So you're like leaning in or maybe even turning the volume up. And then all of a sudden there's this huge explosion. There's tons of little moments like that where just like, da! Little cat meow in the background. Am I hearing right? And then there's a shotgun in your ear. My favorite song on the album is The Final Cut.
Yeah.
We've actually played that at some of my acoustic shows. Well, give a listen. Let us know what y'all think next week. We will be talking about it.
Yeah. Southampton Dock's probably that for me. That's probably my favorite one.
Yeah. She bravely waves the boys goodbye again. That's one of those.
That's only like 2 minutes long. You know.
It's like a little interlude. But that's almost like it's not operatic, but it's some sort of opera. Space, cosmic opera. And heavy fucking album. And the end of the you can't say original Pink Floyd because the original Pink Floyd didn't even have David Gilmour. That was Syd Barrett. But the end of the Roger Waters era. And Pink Floyd wouldn't make an album for another 6 years or so.
It wasn't it the Flying High or whatever song?
Yeah, Momentary Lapse of Reason. Yeah, they did have a hit off that Learning to Fly.
Learning to Fly. No, it's comfortable.
Learning to Fly was out of the corner of my watering eye.
Yeah.
Yep, good stuff. I love me some Pink Floyd, my favorite band of all time. All right, y'all. Well, on that note, you got your homework. Next week, we'll be talking about that and 9/11. And we might be rambling a little bit more because we'll probably have a little bit more leeway. But this felt right. Felt about normal pace. But next week, I might have a mini soup to shower or I might have a guest. I'm working on a couple of things. So next week, we might mix things up just a wee bit. Or it might just be a typical show. But if you do want to be on the show to play news, quiz, weird trivia that might get Christopher fired, then send Christopher an email at christopher.bizarre@gmail.com. Send us a message on Facebook. However, get a hold of us and tell us you want to be on the show. All we need from you is a decent mic and Skype. We will patch you right in. And I do mean decent mic. It doesn't have to be great. You're only going to be on for a little bit. Other than that, tune on in next week, y'all. Have a good week.
Okay, thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.